Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark show for September 27, 2024. Going to be doing the week 4 NFL picks Thursday thoughts as we usually do on Thursday nights after the game. Going to talk about the game for a bit, and then I have notes on every single game upcoming, the final 15 games of the week 4 slate. So going to get into all that. Before I do, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that will be appreciated. As you can see here on the merch store, we have a ton of t-shirts. I think all reasonably priced, like from $18 to $20. And the shirt I'm wearing now, the money laundering shirt, and yes, this is what I was wearing yesterday. This is what happens when you're a dad. You don't get to shower very often, and you normally wear the same clothes like 3 days in a row. So this money laundering shirt right here, I was wearing it, and I got some like strange looks today when I went to my wife's work to pick up my kids. She works at a daycare, so she takes our kids there sometimes. So I was picking them up, and like some old lady just like gave me a strange look, and I was like, oh, you don't you like our $1 billion being sent overseas, huh? Yeah, you can get dirty looks, or sometimes people will praise your shirt, and like in Las Vegas, a couple of guys like, yeah, that's awesome. So you get to know who your friends are. So buying any of these shirts would really help us out. Another way is super chats, super stickers. We had a couple great ones yesterday from John Sanders and Slew for $4 and $4.01 respectively. You guys have been so awesome with your contributions. Just really appreciate it. These YouTube ads, I always say this, they pay nothing. So the super chats, super stickers are just a great way to help support the show. In addition to Slew and John Sanders, we had Andrew, we had Stuart Griffin, we had Cam Meek Eagle in the past, Germ, the Genonon, Kevin Kovac. Again, you guys have been so awesome. Every time you do this, just brings a smile to my face. So thank you so much. Just really appreciate it. Also, you can go to Amazon, buy my books. My second book was How the 2020 MVP Was Stolen. I should probably plug my first book too. It's called The Safety and the Field Goal. It's just a top 5 list of football stuff. And then my most recent book, Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people I met at Penn State. It's kind of a mirrored version of Jerks of the Week on my site, where I make fun of people. I see it like the grocery store, my neighborhood. These are all my stories from my 6 years at Penn State. And as you can see by the cover, I ran into a lot of weird people. So, all right, so let's talk about the Thursday game real fast. It was 20-15. The Cowboys win a very odd score. Usually don't see. I can't remember the last time I see 2015. That's kind of a number that stands out to me because when I was in grade school, we had all those like cheese buses, and all of them had numbers, and we had to know which number we had to go on. I was in 2015 first trip, so I always remember that. I don't recall 2015 being scored very commonly in football, but yeah, it was a push for those who had the closing line of Dallas -5. There were some 5.5s out there, so condolences to those who had the 5.5s. It just shows you how important it is to shop around. But like normally games don't end on 5, so if you had the 5.5, I wouldn't really blame you. The Sharps were on the Giants +6 though. So it was like +6 for like a few hours during the week, and then it just got bet down. And I joked on Twitter that Brandon Aubrey he was one of the Sharps who had +6 because he missed the field goal at the end. I have no way to prove this, but like when he lined up the kick, I thought he was going to miss. Like it looked like he was like not a line straight or something. And like, I don't know, maybe because I was laying down, it just looked weird. But I thought he was like angled toward the right, and then he missed toward the right. Again, I can't prove that I predicted this in my head. But I thought like as soon as he like ran up to kick the ball, I thought it was going to miss. I don't know why, because he's usually so accurate, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the fix is in too. Jerks the College is great. Mike says, thank you so much. Like, yeah, glad you liked the book. It was a blast to write. It took a while to publish because I didn't know exactly how I was going to cut it down. Like when my first rough draft of the book was like 267,000 words, which is just like absurd. I told my friend, one of my friends who published the book, I had no idea what a good word count was. And I was like, I was like, is 267,000 words a lot? And he's like, dude, did you just write a War and Peace? Like, is that a lot? He's like, yeah. You have to cut it down. So I actually cut it down to like 60,000 or so. So it took a long time to trim all the stuff I had in the book, and I put a lot of it on the site. But I'm glad you liked him, Mike. 2015 is a CFL score. Okay, yeah, I'll take your word for it. It seems like a not very common NFL score. Dallas's kicker had the Giants, plus 5, or at least plus 6 probably, because he was the one of the sharps, right? As it says, surely I'm not the only one who laid 5.5. I got 50% odds boost on that. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. So it's such a bummer because Aubrey's so reliable. You expect him to hit those field goals, and he just doesn't. I thought very telling that the Cowboys couldn't blow out the Giants like they usually do. It was a close game they easily could have lost if the Giants didn't keep shooting themselves in the foot with the mistakes. But yeah, I mean, Dallas does not look very good. Tyler Guyton looks awful. Just so many penalties tonight. Zach Martin got hurt, and Micah Parsons getting hurt too was huge. DeMarcus Lawrence as well. Just these Thursday night games are so brutal for these players. They just can't stay healthy. And I did research my first book, Safety in a Field Goal, and I found that I actually have the numbers in that book. I don't know what it is offhand, but it's in the book. That like there are more injuries that occur on Thursday night than any other night in NFL, or any other day in the NFL. So they do really put the players at risk, and Goodell just doesn't really care. Heavy side might be the only field goal under 60 Aubrey misses all year. He might set the record for 60 plus field goals in a single season. I don't even know what it is, but like there aren't that many that have been hit, and he's had 2 already. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then he misses this one, of course, though, to cover. John says, is Daniel Jones good? He's a tough quarterback to get a read on. I think he just has talent. I just don't think that I just don't think he's all there. It seems like he doesn't really see the field all that well. I feel like, or he's just like pretty timid. Like tonight, he wasn't taking that many downfield shots, even though Dallas wasn't getting that much pressure on him. Like Dallas's pass rush has been so disappointing this year. After week 1 against the Browns, who are missing both tackles, like they haven't gotten to the quarterback at all. It just I don't know. Maybe he was just traumatized in the past by those performances where Dallas just sacks him over and over again. But this year, they just didn't do that, and yet he still kept throwing a lot of checkdowns. They mentioned on the postgame show that Slayton was open downfield and he missed them. They just didn't see him or something on one play. So Jones has talent, like the potential to be good. I just don't know if he's ever going to get there. But then again, like, what if he's the next Sam Darnold or the next Geno Smith, the next Malik Willis? He goes to a different team. He's paired with a great coach, great offensive coach, and then he shines. Like I don't think like he's definitely a bust, but it does seem to go that route. Sue says Daniel Jones' deep ball is not good. Yeah, it's really not. Maybe that's why he's pretty timid to go downfield. But when Neighbors got injured with the concussion, you just knew it was going to be over. Like it was suddenly the Giants' offense from last year with no Saquon Barkley, with no Neighbors there. So Chris says YouTube commercials getting ridiculous. F.U. Sundar and F.U. Neil Mohan. I don't know. So I ended up paying for YouTube Premium, so I don't see the commercials. I did that a long time ago because Cobra Kai was only on YouTube Premium. So as like Karate Kid was one of my favorite movies of all time. So I had to sign up and watch Cobra Kai. So and like I did that, and now I don't think I could go back because like under my wife's account, she still has ads. And every time I see that, I'm like, oh man, I'm so happy I don't have ads. Plus, I get to say it's a deductible for my business because I could watch YouTube highlights of football and stuff. So you can always deduct anything. John says I think Dable simplified things for him. Yeah, I don't think like Dable's a bad coach offensively, but I think like he's not like a mastermind like Matt LaFleur or Kevin O'Connell. I don't think he's on that level. So I think it'd be interesting to see what Daniel Jones would do with one of those guys. Chris says, moving on, and don't understand Dable's decision making. Doesn't go for it on any of those field goals, but goes for it all or two of his timeouts and the 2 minute warning near midfield. Yeah, he was pretty conservative early in the game, and you gotta hit that. At least he was more aggressive in the fourth quarter, but I don't know. It is frustrating when they don't go for it, and you think so. Yeah, midfield and kills neighbors as a result. Yeah, that's it's a shame. I hope he's not out for long because he's a lot of fun to watch. He's just so incredible. And really, it's just like before the draft, like Charlie reported this in his hot press section of the site that some teams had neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know which team specifically, but I mean Charlie reported it. It's definitely true. Charlie has the best track record for draft. And now we get to see why, right? I mean, Harrison's been good too. Like, don't get me wrong, but Neighbors is just on a different level. I think he's just locked in. Assuming he's healthy, he's locked in as a first round pick next year in fantasy. And by the way, I keep talking about best ball. I saw him get taken at 5th overall in a draft I did last night. I had the first pick, I got Barkley, and then Neighbors went 5th overall. So kind of a preview of like what's to come next year, I think. Chris says this draft class is going to end up being better known for the receivers and the quarterbacks. Well, yeah, I mean, unless Daniels is that good, right? But yeah, I mean, Neighbors, Harrison, and Odunze Odunze had a great game last week. He did pop up the injury report, so it's something I'm going to get to. Yeah, Charlie Campbell is the GOAT. Absolutely. It's so crazy. I say this all the time. I say this a lot of the time. Like, I don't understand how Charlie gets so much information. He talks to everyone in the NFL. It's incredible. Like one time he forwarded me an email chain he had with an NFL GM, and the NFL GM asked him for his opinion on the tackles. Like he initiated the conversation with Charlie. I was like, what? It's like, wow, this is incredible. So yeah, Charlie sent that email to me, and I was floored by it. So that GM's still a GM in the NFL, by the way. So. And Thomas, Thomas to an extent, he's looked okay. The problem with him is Trevor Lawrence just looks so lost. If Trevor Lawrence were playing like he did last year before the injuries, I think Thomas would have much better stats. But he's being weighed down by Lawrence just sucking. How does Charlie do it? I don't know. I really don't know. He talks to everyone, and he breaks all the stories for the draft. It's crazy. He is the best. I'm gonna try to have him on more often, during the draft season, like from January to April. Going to try to have him on more as a guest. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's get to these games. I have notes, like I said, on every game. Not some more so than others. So Saints Falcons. I talked on Tuesday with Andy. By the way, Andy is scheduled to come on next Thursday after the Thursday night game, and hopefully a lot of Thursday games. I don't know if it's going to be every Thursday, but he said he would be willing to do that, become like a semi-permanent or permanent guest on Thursday after the games. So I was really happy to hear that because he's so knowledgeable. Anyway, so what I was talking about with Andy with this game is that I thought the Saints would be the right side because the Falcons are going to be missing 2 offensive linemen, Caleb McGarry and Drew Dahlman. And the Saints would be missing Eric McCoy, who's out 6 to 8 weeks. But that's not the case anymore. Cesar Ruiz was downgraded or is DMP twice this week so far in practice. So if he's out, suddenly that's going to be 2 injuries for the Saints as well. And but on the flip side, Atlanta may not have Bijan Robinson. He was downgraded to limit on Thursday. Now, I don't think it's that much of a concern, but any midweek downgrade is always going to just set off some red flags. So if you own Bijan in fantasy, just be prepared to swap him out just in case. I think he's going to play. It's not like he was downgraded to the DNP, but still, it's still a question mark there. I think I'm going to switch my pick to Atlanta just because I thought the Saints being down only 1 lineman would give him big edge, but being down Ruiz and McCoy, and on top of that Ramczyk, who's out for the year, I think it's just going to be way too much. And Atlanta has a good pass rush with Matthew Judon, Grady Jarrett. I think Atlanta could take this one. And I believe there's a lot of public money on the Saints. 91% of the money on the Saints. Saints are a public dog. I think I'm switching to Atlanta. So that's something to look out for in the Saturday notes, which will be out like unless I lock a pick in, it'll be up like Saturday morning, like early Saturday morning. Um, Chris says Charlie, he's knowledgeable and a likable guy who has clearly developed quality connections and amazing reputation. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the nicest guy too. Like, I know, Charlie's my friend, and he's he'll do anything for you too. Like if I ever like need a favor or something, he's always there. He always sends me like birthday gifts too. He's like he's like the only person outside of my family who does that too. So he is the man. Needs a haircut though. I don't know. I think it's a good trademark. Makes him stand out. Um, let's see. Falcons have the Bucks Thursday. Yeah, but usually it's like big favorites that you want to fade heading into Thursday. Like smaller favorites or underdogs, I don't think it really applies there. And the stats do back it up. I can look that up. Well, why not? I can look that up now. Why not? Let's go to Killer Sports tab, and we can do so next equals next equal day equals Thursday, and let's do favorites, but line is greater than -3. So favorites. Oh, let's just do 3.5. So favorites of 3 or less going into Thursday. They are okay. 46-56 against the spread, not great. I'm willing to bet though that it's a lot worse for favorites 3 or more. Yeah, it's okay. It's worse. It's 44%, 107 and 136 against the spread. Well, let's just do favorites in total here. Favorites in total 153 and 192 against the spread. That's 44.3%. But what if it's a divisional game? I want to see if that affects it. Oh, it's even worse. 50 and 73 against the spread. Okay, well let's add that last parameter back. Line is greater than -3.5. So small divisional games, 18 to 23, 18 25 against the spread. So okay, maybe maybe I shouldn't change to Atlanta. I really thought that like small favorites would be okay heading into Thursday, but apparently not. Like now, it's worse if you're a huge favorite. But yeah, I guess any favorite. Let's look at underdogs, by the way. Underdogs heading into Thursday are actually 126 and 107 against the spread. So they actually tend to cover. That's why I thought that like Atlanta -2.5 would be okay heading into Thursday, but I guess not. And plus they do have Tampa next Thursday. Now like Atlanta and New Orleans is a big rivalry, but Atlanta Tampa might be bigger at the moment because Tampa was in the playoffs last year. So yeah, it's a good call, Sue. I think okay, maybe I'm not going to change. I'm just not going to bet this game. I think there are just way too many injuries, and plus the Thursday game is a big factor. Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks for talking me off of that, Sue. I guess I'll stay with the Saints. Mike says, "Who gets a haircut first, Charlie or Trevor Lawrence?" Maybe it's a Florida thing. I don't know. Maybe Trevor Lawrence will like think that like he needs a just a fresh start or something, just because he's having such a bad year. Charlie's never had a bad year as draft analyst, so like this is Trevor Lawrence's worst year. So maybe that'll be the motivation. Although it is his trademark, so I don't know. That line cross 0, taking teams that move to a favorite without a QB change is a dangerous move. You're talking about the advanced spread. Well, the advanced spread was no, the advanced spread was Falcons -1.5, and now it's 2.5. So did it really move across 0? I didn't see that. Chris says I can't see the Falcons looking past the Saints though, especially when Tampa just blowed out by Denver. Maybe I don't know. It's still a Thursday game. It's so tough to prepare for that. It's like think about like the collisions these guys take and having to play on 3 days rest. That's insane that like that the NFL allows this. I think it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, maybe some guys aren't going to look past it, but some guys might. It's a tough call. But it is a divisional game. Those teams really hate each other. Falcons Saints is one of the bigger rivalries. Especially in that division. It's probably the biggest rivalry in that division. So I don't know. You could be right. I don't know. Either way, I'm not going to touch this game. So it's kind of like arguing 0 units either way. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a good side here. Like especially given the new Saints injury on the offensive line that we found out with Cesar Ruiz. All right. So speaking of offensive line injuries, we have one here for the Steelers Colts game. Ryan Kelly was he's dealing with a neck injury, and I believe I didn't write this down if he was out of practice. I wrote that he was downgraded in practice. Let's see, Ryan Kelly, yeah, DMP. He was DMP on Thursday with a neck injury. So that's something to really monitor. Ryan Kelly, really talented center. If he's out against that Steeler defensive line, it's going to make it so much more difficult for the Colts to cover. So yeah, Kwity Paye also DMP on Thursday. So Colts are pretty banged up. Steelers look like a good play. Unfortunately, there's not that much public money on them, but a little bit. So a 66%, not there. Um, yeah, I would. I think I like I think the Steelers here. I might end up betting them if like Ryan Kelly and Quiddy Pay are out. Um, so yeah, I might do that. There's like music playing, and it's of course it's my site. It's one of the ads. There's like music playing. It was like so distracting. That the past 30 seconds, it was like it was one of those songs like "Can You Feel It?" Oh, it was like playing in the background. I was trying to talk. Um, Chris says one thing for Saints Falcons is how Atlanta was competitive with Philly, who was healthier, and the Saints just got outgained by 241 yards and should have lost by 20 plus. What's the spread then? What's I'm not sure like what you're asking here. Like if week three is ignored, you mean because the advanced spread was Saints minus one or Falcons minus 1.5. Like I don't know. It's kind of weird that this the line moved 1 point. It's not. It's kind of weird that it only moved 1 point. Like given what transpired last week. So um, I don't know. Like it's not that like there was much of a difference. Chandler is saying start Stroud or Purdy. Also Ford or White. Well, I hate Rashad White, so I wouldn't start him. So I would play Ford. Stroud or Purdy. I think I'd go Stroud. Jacksonville's pass defense is horrible. Um, and like Stroud hasn't hit his ceiling yet, and Tank Dell is going to be out. Going to get to that in a bit. But I still like Stroud. Um, Chris saying 100% Stroud. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Is Dangerous Steel out? Steel out for Pittsburgh? I think so. I saw a report today saying that he aggravated his injury trying to play in the preseason, and I was thinking like, well, why are you playing in the preseason if you're hurt? It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't matter. Justin Fields is the starting quarterback there. Um, Steelers have Cowgirls on Sunday Night Football next. I think that's a big deal to their players. Is it though? Because like Dallas just got blown out by Baltimore and New Orleans. Like I don't know. I don't know if they're going to look ahead to that. If they're a huge favorite, and maybe, but they're only favored by 1.5. I don't really think they look ahead to Dallas. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. Kim Beginning Eagle says I've got Pittsburgh Buffalo money line parlay. Okay, that's I like that. I definitely like Pittsburgh. I'm not sure about Buffalo, but you could always hedge, I suppose. Um, Quinn asking Goy offer to trade Ayuk for Godwin. Thoughts? See, I was talking about this to Kenny last week. When you get like trades like receiver for receiver, I don't really get it. Like because like one person or like both people are going to think they won that trade when it's just receiver for receiver, and so someone's going to be wrong. And like I just don't get the point, like why trade receiver for receiver? If it's like receiver for running back, then I understand obviously because like you might need the position. But if it's receiver for receiver, like I just don't get it. If it's PPR like Godwin more, if it's standard, it's very close. I still probably like Godwin just because he plays in the slot in Liam Cohen's offense, which is a huge deal. That's the Cooper Kupp role. That's why he's outproducing Mike Evans this year. But Ayuk could like go nuts like any week. Like he's still playing in the shape, and once he gets into shape, I think he's gonna have a huge year. So it's super close. Chris saying Russ is a weirdo and his wife goes to Diddy parties. Yeah, Russ is a weirdo. I've heard Marshawn Lynch and Richard Sherman talk about it they were on like a podcast or something, and they said when they were all in Seattle, they didn't have Russell Wilson's number. Like if they wanted to reach him outside of like the practice facility, they had to go to his agent and like try to get in touch with him. And it's so weird just to like not have your quarterback's phone number or like not have a teammate's phone number. It's strange. But yeah, he is a little weird. Kimmy says Richardson's only completing 49% of his passes, and the Steelers' rush will be relentless. Pittsburgh should score the most points of the season against that Indy defense. Yeah, and that's why a Ryan Kelly injury is such a big deal. Like the Colts usually have a really good offensive line, so like that could normally save Richardson. But like if Ryan Kelly's out, suddenly there's like a crack in that foundation. So that would allow the Steelers to get to him more often than they normally would. So. And they did get to Kirk Cousins a lot, and the Falcons have a decent offensive line, or at least it did before the injuries. So yeah, the Steelers are capable of just dominating any front, and if Kelly's out, it's going to make a big difference. Chris says Steelers have yet to score more than 20, so that's not a Super Bowl prediction. That's true. The mustache is flying high. Yeah, the flying high into the sky, into outer space. Hopefully, it goes home one of these days. It's funny. My son is 2. Has he loves Paw Patrol, and there's like a Paw Patrol space thing, and they find a flying saucer, and the alien is some kid or something, some kid alien who wants to go home to his mommy. And it kind of reminds me of Arthur Smith's mustache. Maybe it just wants good to go home with the mommy. That's why it's sucking so much as offense coordinator. So anyway, yeah, Jaguars, Texans here. We touched on this a little bit. Yeah, Stroud looks great here because Jacksonville's pass defense is terrible, and it might be even worse than it usually is because the Jaguars may not have 2 other top linebackers. Foye Oluokun, DMP in practice twice so far. Devin Lloyd got downgraded on Thursday to DMP with a knee. So like, this defense is usually bad, and now it may not have its two best linebackers. So could be even worse. Now Tank Dell's not going to play. I don't think that's a big deal because Texans still have Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and Dalton Schultz. They also have, by the way, what's his face? The guy from Alabama, who he had cancer. John Mechie, who he was really good in the preseason. He looks like he's finally recovered from that unfortunate like thing that he had. So he could if he gets a chance here, I think it'd be interesting to see how well he does because he actually looked like legitimately good in the preseason. I thought Sim Team was going to trade for him, but apparently not. Chris says they were singing the mustaches praise on Thursday Night Football tonight over reviving Fields. Were they really? I don't get to listen to the pregame show. Just because like I'm feeding my kids and then bathing them and then putting them to bed. So I actually just miss like by the time we get downstairs, it's like the end of the first quarter already. So I start like from beginning and I just like as soon as the play happens, I'm like plus 10 seconds, and I just try to catch up. I'm usually caught up by like the mid-second quarter. So I miss like all the pregame stuff that they normally talk about. It says last week I asked you Jacksonville's a bad team. I think we know the answer for sure. Yeah, they are looking like not just a bad team, a horrible team. It's weird because like you could argue they could be 2-1, but the 2 teams they almost beat like have been so unimpressive otherwise. Like they almost beat the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have gotten blown out in every other game. And then they almost beat the Browns, and the Browns have gotten blown out or lost to the Giants in every other game. So it's not looking good for them. Ether says Fields is a game manager, though. Boy, has he managed well in the first 3 games. Yeah, they've gotten him to play like a game manager, but he has the rushing upside. So he still is good, like fantasy wise. I think he still has potential. He is. I mean, he was a first round pick. Like he's not like a 5th round pick. Like like a Gardner Minshew or something who's stepping in and just like purely managing. But like Fields has the potential to be more, but they're just asking him to manage right now as they develop him. So it's been pretty good for them. Good point, Chris, but their defense hasn't given up more than 10 points, and the over-under is 40. You gotta like the under, right? Then Sue says, at this rate, when the Jags return from Europe after back-to-back games, Doug Peterson may be unemployed when he steps off the plane. Well, the good news for Peterson is that the second game he has in London is against the Patriots. So that should at least be a win. And if it's not, then yes, they may just leave him in London. Sevens are long gone, but you have to play the Jags at 7. You have to play the Jags at 7. Wow, I like the Texans actually. CJ Stroud coming off a loss. Any good quarterback coming off a loss. They have this is great track record. Might as well read these now because I mentioned it on Thursday when I was talking to Andy. So CJ Stroud in his career is 5-2 against the spread off a loss. Now I know that's a small sample size, but he's I think it just projects well. And if you look at any good quarterback coming off a loss, like they're going to have a good record. So, for example, Josh Allen is 11-7 against the spread off a loss. Drew Brees, he's not obviously he's retired, but Drew Brees was 47-28 against the spread after a loss. Aaron Rodgers, 39-21 against the spread off a loss. Russell Wilson, who used to be a good quarterback, 33-16 against the spread off a loss. Tom Brady, after a loss, was 49-27 against the spread. So on and so forth. What's Mahomes, by the way? I didn't read Mahomes, right? Mahomes 13-8 against the spread off a loss. So not that one's not great, but still a winning record there. So I project that, and you have to kind of project here because Stroud's so young. I think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So if I'm right, he has a good chance of covering the spread here. Now, I don't like this. I don't call it a trend. It's just more like, the best players in the NFL will find a way to bounce back off a loss. So maybe you do call that a trend. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. I don't like to apply it when they're huge favorites because they could still win and not cover, but anything less or touchdown or less, I think is definitely in play. And Jacksonville is just looking so bad, and Houston has dominated them over the years. So I don't see why. Like Trent, you'll have to tell me why you like Jacksonville. I just don't see it. And it's like you can't even say, oh, Jacksonville's coming off a blowout; they're going to bounce back. But like Houston's also coming off a blowout. So it's like a buy low opportunity for both teams. But I don't think you want to buy the Jaguars. Chris says, I'd say it's unlikely the Steelers hold Indy to 10 or less. Cousins was shaking off the rust. Knicks didn't throw the ball over 3 yards, and Herbert was playing on one leg. Yeah, it could be like, I don't think the Colts are going to score a lot. It could be like 20-17 or something. But I do think there's a decent chance the Colts score more than 10. 2017, 23-20. Yeah, something like that. Exactly. Cam McNeil says, will Khan let them hit him on the plane to come back home? Well, it would be interesting. I don't know if this would ever happen. It could only happen to the Jaguars because they're the only team that plays back-to-back London games. But like, what if Peterson's so bad in that first game that Khan fires Peterson in London, and then they have to have like another coach them in London? That'd be so awkward. So I think that'd be fun. Chris says Texans win 47-14. Yeah, I'm on board with that. And by the way, Peterson, I don't actually, in all seriousness, I don't think they fire him. I think, at least until the end of the year, I think they fire him after the season. I don't think they fire him during the season. I think he just commands too much respect. Like he's not one of these like doofy coaches like Urban Meyer was. I don't know. He's a nice guy and everything. And I just think they just play it out with him. I don't think they fire him during the season. Anyway, next game is Vikings at the Packers. So we still don't know Jordan Love's status, unfortunately. He was limited in practice twice, so it's anyone's guess. That's what he was last week, and he didn't play. I'm willing to guess that he's not going to play, and he's going to come back next week. But that's just a guess. There's a ton of public money on Minnesota. I was willing to go Minnesota until I saw that, and then I just hate heavily publicly backed dogs. Just really bothers me. It just has a losing track record. I don't know. I don't think I want to touch this, but we'll see. It depends on what the injury situation is. With the quarterbacks and everything. Since Khan could fly in Jeff Saturday. It'd be funny. Jeff Saturday is the de facto in mid-season coaching hire. That just looks like a tank job. That'd be hilarious. Chris says, can you run Killer Sports to see what the record is for teams playing a Monday night after their last game was on Thursday? Struggling with the query for that. Okay. Teams playing on Monday after last game was Thursday. Yeah, we can do that. All right. So we want to do day equals Monday, and P day equals Thursday. And here's the thing: you want to make sure you don't hit any bye weeks. So you're gonna go rest is less than 12. 37-35 against the spread. Is that there are two instances coming up later this year with that: Browns week 13, Cowboys week 14. Is there any reason why you wanted to see this? I guess it's like a little bit extra rest. So they're barely over 500. Interesting enough though, 29-46 over. So under usually hits at a higher rate for some reason. It's probably nonsense, but something to keep in mind, I guess. Because says, who's the worst NFL coach, Urban Meyer or Rich Kotite? Man, that is tough, dude. I it has to be Meyer. Like at least Kotite made it through some seasons, and at one point he had the Eagles at 7-2. Now the Eagles lost 7 in a row to close out the year to finish 7-9, but still he had them at 7-2 at some point. So he won way more games than Urban Meyer ever did. So I guess it has to be Kotite. But Kotite famously, I've told the story before. Kotite, like it wasn't like an obvious situation. They had to go for 2 in the fourth quarter. The Eagles did, and they didn't go for 2. And he was asked in the post game press conference. He's like, Coach, why didn't you go for 2 there? And he goes, oh, my 2-point play 2-point math sheet was wet from the rain, so I didn't know if you had to go for 2 or not. It's like are you serious? I couldn't believe I heard him say that. Like, it's ridiculous. Trent says Houston's struggling offensively and no Mixon again, more than likely. Yeah, I'd say he was out. So also teams that lose 30 plus previous week and are 4+ point dogs, 89-50 against the spread of all time. Yeah, but like, what about teams that are? What if they play teams that are also blown out, like 27 plus? Like. That's why I said like Houston's also coming to blow out the feet, so like they're going to be focused. It's like the thinking here is that teams get blown out, they're going to focus, but Houston's also got blown out. And CJ Stroud said after the game, he said it's time to get down to business. So I don't know if he's like reciting Mulan lines or if he was like serious, but I mean Houston has struggled offensively, but like I don't know. It's weird. Like they played the Colts when they were healthy, like when they had Buckner and everyone in pay, and their number one corner Juju Brents. Like the Colts were actually healthy in week 1, and Stroud looked pretty good. And week 2 they pitched Chicago. Chicago's an underrated defense. They've I think they're pretty high in EPA, if I'm not mistaken. Chicago is they're 16th in EPA, so they're okay, middle of the pack. And then last week against Minnesota, Minnesota's a great defense. Minnesota's 3rd in defense. Sorry. Chicago's 4th in defense. I was looking at the wrong chart. Chicago's 4th in defensive EPA. Minnesota's 3rd in defensive EPA. So they battled 2 top 4 defenses so far. So and now they get Jacksonville. Jacksonville. So Jacksonville is 18th in defensive EPA, which actually seems pretty high. That's actually not factoring in Monday Night Football. Now that I think about it, that's for the first 2 games. So yeah, just keep that in mind. John says Bills are a good team to tease. They've gone 44 straight regular season game without losing by more than 6 points. Yeah, I love the Bills plus 8.5. I think that's a great teaser leg. Chris says, yep, so it's pointless. Thank you. I wanted to see what the Bills just did. Was anything special? Yeah, so yeah, that did apply to the Bills. Yeah, so so before that it was 36-35 against the spread. Just says line was 4.5 before Monday night too. I bet the Jags plus 7, but wouldn't touch it now. Good luck. Hope for a 6-point Texans win. Well, there's minus 6.5, so I don't think we could both be on the right side, unfortunately. Chris says, Trent, you should check teams blown out on Monday Night Football, though. I believe those teams usually struggle next week as well, at least on 1 point. They did. I think they've gotten better, though. I think they're fine in that regard. I think it's just like it just came back to the mean. Sue says almost everyone circles the wagons better than Jaguars. When was the last time they won a non-reason game? Um, yeah, it's weird. They only win since like November last year was against the Panthers. It's kind of crazy. Um, Chris says the Texans know they're a good team who just had a bad game. The Jaguars could easily be losing belief in themselves and therefore are less likely to try their hardest. Yeah, I could see them. I could see them quitting because like they had high expectations and they know they're bad. Like that is absolutely true. And Houston was 2-0. I just think they took Minnesota for granted coming off that national TV win. I think it's a mistake to look at what Houston did last week because Houston had so many mistakes in that game. Like I think Laremy Tunsil had like 4 penalties in a row on one sequence. Like it was clear the Texans were not trying the hardest in that game. So I wouldn't read anything into that the result. Artie says, shouldn't Steelers be favored by 3 in Indy plus the revenge game from last year? Um, yeah, what is my line for this? I make my own lines. I have Steelers -2. The computer says Steelers should be -4, or the EPA numbers say Steelers should be -4. So if you average them out, yes, it should be -3. So yeah, it's a little bit short. And I thought that would could like goad the public into taking the Steelers, but like they really haven't done that at a high clip. Like, yeah, it's 66%. That's not like a huge number. Pinnacle is Texans -5.5. Okay, well, I don't have access to Pinnacle unfortunately, because I think is it still out of the U.S. Because it used to be in the U.S. I haven't checked, but the Pinnacle is the best sports book, but I don't think people in the U.S. could access it. At least they couldn't. Chris has put it this way: which coach do you think will get more out of his guys after loss? And this was the biggest loss of Ryan's short coaching career. Yeah, yeah. I think you're right about that. Yeah, the team, they're going to play hard for Ryan's. You're right. Kimiko says Texans beat a poor Indy team by 2, struggled to beat the Bears, and Minnesota killed them. They should be focused for a bad Jacksonville team, but they're not playing well. Well, again, like the Indy was healthy in week 1, and Indy had was like a block punt or something to score 7. So like that game wasn't really as close as it was. I think the yardage favored Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. So the Texans outgained the Colts in that game 417 to 303. They also, they outgained them by 117 yards. And then in week 2, when they played the Bears, which was a close game, Houston outgained the Bears 310 to 205. So they outgained the first 2 opponents by 100 plus yards. They outgained the Bears in yards per play by 2 yards per play, 5.1 to 3.1. So they played a lot better than the Bears than that score says. So I wouldn't read too much into that, honestly. All right, what's the next game? Let's get to the next game here. So nothing on Vikings Packers right now. I really like the Bengals. Again, this is a good quarterback coming off a loss. I mentioned Joe Burrow 15-7 against the spread off a loss, so gotta like it. Deontay Johnson was downgraded to DMP on Thursday with a groin. Damian Lewis is DMP in practice. Those are 2 huge injuries. Like I like the Panthers heading into the year because I really like what they did with the offensive line, paying for Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt, and then trading for Deontay Johnson. I thought that was going to help their offense a lot. Plus the Canals hire. Like suddenly Johnson might be out and Lewis might be out. So this might be Carolina offense from last year with Dalton instead of Bryce Young, which it's still an upgrade. But I think it's telling that this line was like creeping down, and then when those injuries came out, the Bengals went back to -4.5. So looks like some sharp money in Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati quite a bit here. Don't really see a reason to take Carolina. Next game is let's see. It is Rams at the Bears. What do I have here? So the Bears are pretty banged up right now. They have 6 Bears players missed practice on Thursday. That's not even counting limited players. That's like 6 DMPs on Thursday. And one of the limited players was Rome Odunze, who was downgraded to limited with a hip injury. So something to watch out for. I love Odunze, just if he's healthy. Yeah, I said this yesterday. I think he's the receiver to own now instead of DJ Moore, which would have been blasphemous back in the summer because Moore was coming off such a great year. But Caleb Williams and DJ Moore just aren't on the same page. But he and Odunze are. He loves throwing to Odunze. Odunze outgained Moore by if you look at last week's stats, you might see it's close. but DJ Moore caught a 44-yard Hail Mary that bounced off someone else. If you take that catch out, like Odunze outgained Moore by a huge margin. So like if Odunze's out, if he keeps getting downgraded or something, the Bears are going to look really bad here. And I already think they already have a bad coaching mismatch. Now the Sharps are on the Bears, and I think there's some validity to that because the Bears have such a good defense. They're fourth in defensive EPA. And the Rams have interior offensive line injuries. They're still down 2 blockers, and their defense sucks too. So I think this could be Caleb Williams' best game. So I'm leaning toward the Bears, but I don't really see much here. I don't really like this game from a betting perspective. Broncos Jets. So we talked about how teams look ahead to Thursday night games. Teams also look ahead to London games. Teams are favored by 4 or more heading into London, or 12-18 against the spread. It's not like a huge sample size, but like it's what we have, and it makes sense because they have to like prepare to go overseas and everything. So I don't think the Jets are going to be fully focused for the Broncos as huge favorites coming off a win on national TV. I just think they're going to be flat in this game. The updates I have here is that 3 missed players combined. It's funny that 6 Bears players missed practice on Thursday, whereas in this game, these 2 teams combined, only 3 players missed practice. CJ Mosley, the only player of note, really. The other 2 are like backups. So it's nothing to worry about with injury wise. I would expect Mosley to be out, but that's about it. Let's see. Kimmy says, I agree, but they're making bad errors. That fumble inside the 5 cost me the cover. A team playing well doesn't make those errors. You're right. They aren't playing their best, but it doesn't mean they're not going to start playing their best. Like they could start playing their best. It was early in the year, and coming off that loss could be like a shock to the system. Whereas they're like, okay, we got to get it going now because if we lose another game, suddenly we're 2-2, and everything we did in the first 2 weeks is undone. So I think they're going to be more focused. Let's see, against the Bears. Caleb is terrible. So if you want to say like terrible, like Bryce Young is terrible, right? Like Caleb Williams is at least better than Bryce Young. He's making a lot of mistakes, but like you could see the upside with him at least. Like there's no upside with Bryce Young. Like he hasn't shown any upside. You know what I mean? Like if we're rating quarterbacks 1 to 10, Bryce Young is a 1. Caleb Williams he's not a 1. He might be like a 4 right now or a 3.5. But like you could see his potential, and like he has the potential to go over 5 to 6. So he's going to be better. I think he's going to get better. I feel much better about him than Bryce Young. That line in Chicago is atrocious. Yeah, it is. But the Rams, their one strength is the pass rush, so they could get him there. But the Rams defense otherwise has just been awful. Like they couldn't stop Arizona at all. And in the other 2 games, Arizona did nothing in the second half against Buffalo, and then they did nothing in the second half against the Lions. Like offensively, I think they scored 0. They scored 3 points against the Lions, and I don't know what it was against the Bills. It might have been like 7 points in total or 6 points because they had that kickoff return for a touchdown. But I don't know what else. I know they had a couple field goals or something. Chris says Chicago also wasted money and time on a pedestrian running back that only looked good behind Philly's offensive line. Yeah, and he didn't even look that good. Like he was like solid last year. He wasn't like great, And like now they have him behind a horrible offensive line. I said this yesterday. Like I think this is going to be Miles Sanders 2.0, where like Miles Sanders came into Carolina as a starter after they paid him, and then like quickly he got benched for Hubbard. I think Swift is going to get benched. In fact, actually, I thought I saw today that there's reports saying Roschon Johnson is going to get more touches. So make sure you pick up Roschon Johnson if he's available in your league. Not that he's going to get great blocking, but he can at least catch passes pretty well. I think he had like 4 catches last week. Yeah, okay, correction. Finally looked healthy. Yeah, he didn't get hurt for once. You're right. All right. So last of the early games, we have Eagles and Buccaneers. And unfortunately for the Eagles, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no Lane Johnson in practice once again. There were DMPs Wednesday and Thursday, so at this point it's going to be shocking if they play. Becton at least practiced in full, so they're going to have him. He's played well at guard, so the position change has been good for him. For the Buccaneers, no Antoine Winfield again, DMP both days. However, Vita Vea was limited twice, and he was only expected to miss 1 week, so I assume he's going to be back, which will be huge for Saquon Barkley, that matchup, because with no Brown and no Smith, the Tampa could definitely get more men in the box and limit Barkley, and if they have Vea, they're going to have a much easier time of doing that. So I like Tampa here, assuming those guys are going to be out again, which I'd be shocked if they play, especially with the bye coming up. Like, there's no reason to push it. So I like Tampa. So let's reload this page. Let's get to the late afternoon games. Redskins at Cardinals. So here, Trey McBride, still in concussion protocol. He missed practice twice. I'd be shocked if he plays at this point. The Redskins are another public dog. They're getting a lot of money. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, 51% of bet. I could be. I guess I'm wrong. You know what it is? Actually, no, I saw that there's sharp money in Arizona, but like the public is even on this game. So there's sharp money coming in Arizona. The spread is 3.5 though. I hate minus 3.5 spreads. I always say if you bet the 3.5, you have to have a really good reason to do so. And I don't really see it here, especially with Trey McBride being out. Like it's a huge deal. Now, like you could sell high on the Redskins. They just beat the Bengals on national TV. And I think you can make a case for that. I think so. If you were to tell me that you like Arizona, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't talk you out of it. I'm just going to stay away from this game. Let's see here. Will the Tampa field be a bog? That's I didn't consider the hurricane. I usually look at the weather on Friday, just because like I feel like there's no point in looking at the weather earlier, just because the weather changes so much. The forecast changed so much. So when I'm doing my final injury look, I look at the weather first. So I don't really know at this point. I was going to look tomorrow, but it's something to consider. And if it favors the running game, even though what I said about Barkley being true, that does favor Philadelphia because Tampa can't run at all. Tampa's interior blocking is terrible. Start Jacoby or stream Dotson on my fantasy team of crazy cripples. I think Jacoby's hurt by Brock Bowers. But I'll get to this in a second. You'll see why you should start Jacoby. Devontae Adams got downgraded in practice, still limited. So he may play, but he may not be 100%. You know what I mean? So Myers could have a good game. Whereas, Dawson's going to start, I guess, but he's just so bad. He's just not a good player. So I'd rather just start the better player. Redskins secondary is awful. Yeah, it is. It's horrible. So I'm going to play Kyler Murray in DFS. Washington opened 91% of the money, then fell 51%. I'd like Arizona at a reasonably priced -3. Yeah, unfortunately, you're not getting a -3 anywhere. I'm seeing some -3.5 plus 100. So maybe by Sunday, but I don't see any at the moment. Artie says, what are some of your underdog picks? I like Tampa to win. Okay, so teams to win outright. As underdogs. Let's see here. I think Minnesota could. Tampa, I like Tampa as well. I think the Rams could do it, although I don't know. If Odunze's out, then maybe. Let's see here. What else? I think Buffalo could win. Tennessee's a +1. They're still an underdog. So I don't really have much as far as pure underdogs are concerned, but there's a few. All right, so next game is Patriots at 49ers. So good news for the 49ers. George Kittle is going to play. Now, I don't know if he's going to be 100%, but they announced that he's going to play, so he's got to be trending that way at least. Deebo Samuel returned to practice too. Now, I don't think he's going to play this week, but at least that's a good sign. So Kittle will be back. A slight ding to Juwan Jennings. I still like Jennings unless Deebo plays. I'm on the Niners, but they still have a lot of injuries, so it's tough to bet a team that injured at -10.5. Browns Raiders. So I touched on this earlier. Devontae Adams got downgraded to limited. But there's a lot here actually. For the Browns, Jack Conklin, DMP twice in a row. By the way, he was full in practice twice last week, Wednesday and Thursday, and then he got downgraded to limited on Friday. And I'm like, it's what I mean about like downgrades during the week. So he didn't play, and now he's DMP twice. Like I don't like what happened to him in Thursday's practice that he got downgraded the following day. It's crazy that he just hasn't played yet. Jedrick Wills DMP twice. He came back last week and then he got hurt during the game. No Wyatt Teller. He's out. So Browns are going to be down 3 offensive linemen against the Raiders pass rush, which sounds bad until I tell you that Max Crosby has been DMP twice this week. So it just sucks because I thought heading into the week, I was like, okay, Max Crosby was banged up last week, so is Christian Wilkins. Maybe they'll be healthier. No, Crosby is even worse because at least he was limited last week. He's DMP twice. Now he's going to push the play. This guy's like an Iron Man. But if he's DMP twice, he may not be 100%. So this may not be. I may not have a bet on this game. If Crosby returns the full on Friday, I'm going to be more bullish on the Raiders. But that's definitely something to watch out for. And like I said, Adams downgraded to limited. Myles Garrett, DMP and limited so far. He's playing hurt as well. So tons of injuries in this game, which is unfortunate because I thought this would be a great spot for the Raiders coming off that ugly loss. We talk about teams coming off blowout losses, like that's another instance. And like the Browns are just such rough shape with their offensive line. I thought it'd be a great spot for the Raiders with their pass rush, but if Crosby's not healthy, then they don't have the pass rush. Amari Cooper revenge game, yes. It's been a while though, but there's no one there from when he was. So all right, sandwich game for the Cardinals. Big effort against the Lions. Go 49ers after this game. Well, yes, I think maybe. I don't know. I mean, they weren't like huge underdogs against the Lions. You know what I mean? So I think you can make a case for that for sure. They could be flat. The fact that they're 1-2 makes me lean toward no, but I think you could be right. Chris says chances of Minshew losing Star's job if the Raiders lose again. He should have plenty of motivation to play sober. Who was it? Used to always say he was playing drunk in your write-ups up. It was Derek Anderson. He's like slurred his words once. Maybe it's just a bad speaker. I was like, this guy must be drunk. It was like he got so bad. He had that one great year with the Browns. I think it was in 07 or was it 07 or maybe it was 09. But anyway, like then he was just awful, and then he like was slurring his words in one write up or in one post-game press conference, and I was like, man, this guy's drunk. So that's what that joke became. Yeah, Derek Anderson's magical flask. Yes. Carolina QB had an alcohol problem. What's his name? Yeah, Kerry Collins. Yeah. I heard some legendary stories about Kerry Collins at frat parties. Like he went to Penn State, I went to Penn State, so I heard all the stories. Like he used to like roll in with like 15 girls, and it was just like crazy. He used to go nuts. Like they used to again. I don't want to be sued, Kerry Collins. This is what people told me. Don't take this as fact, but like people told me that like they had to like he got so drunk they had to like carry him out of the frats, and that was like when he played football. Again, that's what people told me. I don't know if it's true, but like those are the stories that I heard. And he used to roll in with like 15 girls. So lucky Kerry, I suppose. Next game, Chiefs and Chargers. So good news, bad news for the Chargers. So Justin Herbert sounds like he might play, which I don't know if that's good news actually, because he played last week and he shouldn't have. And like now he may still play on the high ankle sprain. Just makes me want to fade the Chargers really. And then the bad news for the Chargers: Joey Bosa, DMP. Rashawn Slater, DMP. Joe Alt is out. Derwin James is out with a suspension. This is like a skeleton crew team. Heading into the week, I like the Chargers because the Chiefs never win by margin this early in the season. But man, that's like if Herbert's playing injured with no tackles and no Joey Bosa and no Derwin James, that's a huge issue. So I don't know. I think I may switch to the Chiefs. We'll see what the final injury report says. Maybe Joey Bosa will play. Maybe Slater will play. But right now it's not looking good for the Chargers at all, which is a shame because I thought they were going to be a good play. The Sunday night game is Bills at the Ravens. Bills got some good news. Terrell Bernard returns to practice. He was limited Thursday, so not locked in that he's going to return, but at least he's trending in the right direction. I believe there's public money on the Bills. Yeah, there's a lot of public money on the Bills, so the Bills are public underdog. So I'm not going to bet this game as far as the spread is concerned, but as someone suggested, the Bills on the teaser. I think it was Cam McNeagle. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Yeah, Bills at plus 8.5. That's something I'm looking forward to. John says Bills good team to tease. Yeah, John said it. Bills plus 8.5. I think looks really good. Um, yeah, yeah. Walt would have been like 10 at the time. Yeah. Well, Kerry Collins was he was a rookie in '95, so he was at Penn State from 92 to 90. I don't know if he's there for all 4 years. Let's just say like if he's partying like this, it was '94. So I was 12. So you're close. I was in seventh grade. McDermott said Bernard isn't playing. Okay, interesting. Okay, so not good news. But at least like it's good news in the sense that he can at least practice, so maybe he'll play soon. Um, Chris says, then again, at age 10, he probably wouldn't have wanted to be near. And I said enough. I like girls at 10. I don't know. At 10, I had this girl. I had a crush on this girl named Roseanne, and she was in my fifth grade class. And apparently she liked me too. But I was like too much of a chicken to talk to her. I was 10, you know. Uh, like hell, still a chicken. No, not really. I'm married, but still, no, I was like way too timid to talk to any girl at 10. But no, she was like this blonde girl. She was cute. I thought back then, and like I don't know what she looks like now. But I had this huge crush on her in my grade school. Um, Mike says, I think Collins and Walt are possibly the same age. No, Collins is much older than me. How old is Kerry Collins? Let's see. Let's see how much older Kerry Collins is than me. So probably Kerry Collins' age. Just looking at Kerry Collins' agency. Kerry Collins is 51. I'm 42, so he's 9 years older than me. So not quite. Yeah, never mind. Roseanne for the C show. Yeah, you got me, Chris. Sorry. It was not Roseanne. This cute blonde girl from my class is Roseanne Barr. That's the person that I crushed on. The girl I crushed on TV at that age was Al from Step by Step. Was Christine Lakin, I think is her name. I think she's like a year older than me in real life. She was a smoke show, I thought, and like she got super hot at the end, especially. Sue says Bills start 3 straight road games. NFL schedule having what Kerry Collins had. Well, the Tom Collins is maybe that one of my favorite drinks, by the way. I remember speaking of alcohol quarterbacks. Remember Todd Collins from the Redskins? I love that because like I was like that was when I was in my drinking prime, and like I used to call Todd Collins Tom Collins. It's a good time. Kimiko says I've already got Bills plus 8.5 with Minnesota plus 8.5. May add Bills and Kansas City -1. Yeah, I like that. I like anything Bills plus 8.5 makes sense. Minnesota plus 8.5 too. I'm a little more wary of Minnesota just because like I said this yesterday or Tuesday. It feels like this could be Cinderella's carriage turning into a pumpkin. I do think they're a good team. I just feel like they've had so much success. Like they're due for some regression, you know? So I like Kansas City -1 more than Minnesota plus 8.5. Collins was 6'5", 247. He was a tall guy. I didn't know he was 247, but he was super tall. Very good choice. Yeah. Couldn't go wrong with any Step by Step girls. Yeah, you know what's funny? It's because like when I was watching Step by Step as a kid, I was out, like I said, Al's age, 1 year older. So she was 1 year older, but they were like this was being taped beforehand. So I was seeing her at the same age as me, you know. And so I had a huge crush on her. And then like when I was like in my early college years and I rewatched the show, and like I was like, wow, I was like, oh my god, Karen is so hot. Like the older sister. I'm like, oh my god, like how did I not notice her? That's actually happened to me on watching Hey Dude, where Melanie and Brad, the two girls, like I feel like every guy I knew had a crush on them. And then someone got me the DVDs like a decade ago, and I started watching them. And the farmhand, Lucy, was like she was like in her 30s, and I was watching. I was like, oh my god, Lucy's so hot. It's like it's great. You just don't even notice like the older women, like when you're a kid, and then when you're an adult, you do. It's kind of funny. Um, John says it's supposed to rain like crazy in Baltimore, so bet the under. Interesting. Usually, like just rain is not bad, but if it's like a downpour, that will definitely keep it under. Um, Mike says if you're gonna fall in love with any television preteen, should be Alyssa Milano. Um, well, she got turned out to be quite the loon. So I don't know what Christine Lakin's politics are. Usually, if someone doesn't say anything, like usually they're on the right side. But if they're like outspoken lunatic, then you obviously know what they're up to. Patriots plus 10.5. So Nino, you like Patriots? Well, please let us know why. Because I have issues taking the Patriots, but the Niners are super banged up. Sue says the new NFL: Chiefs 15, Chargers 6. All field goals with over half of them for 50 plus. all field goals. That's funny. I was someone sent me a NFL primetime highlight reel from 2000, which I share with you guys on the site. But it was the first week was like Chargers Raiders, and like it was 2-0 in the middle of the fourth quarter, and Ryan Leaf threw a touchdown pass, or it was I think Ryan Leaf threw a touchdown pass, and Chris Berman's like, Chargers score 6-2. They missed the 2-point conversion. It was like 6-2 with 2 minutes left, and like Rich Gannon drove down the field and scored the game-winning touchdown. It was 9-6. And then the next week, the Raiders, who just won 9-6, they would beat the Colts, Peyton Manning's Colts 38-31. So like it's funny how things change so quickly. It says, and then after watching DVDs, perhaps you have a crush on Danny as well. Danny. Who's Danny? I'm oh oh the kid. Yeah. That's funny. Chris says, "Hey, has Elsa Milano been a guest on your MNF skit?" Yes, she was. She was a guest. Right now, she is not. Maybe she'll make a comeback if she comes into the news again. But I'm having fun with Kamala. It's pretty great. I feel like she like Trump feeds off her pretty well in my write-ups. I think. Wouldn't even be surprised. So yeah. Alyssa used to be super hot, but now she's just an ultra left wing wacko. Yeah, unfortunately, she's gone down the dark path. Danny Light for the Indian. So was Bud? Bud was the kid then. Oh, Danny. Yeah. The weird thing about Danny, the actor who played Danny, no one knows where he is. There were rumors that he suffered a heart attack and died, but there's like no confirmations for it, and like all the actors just don't know where he is, and like I think they wanted to have like a reunion show of some sort, and like they couldn't find him at all. So he just like disappeared off the face of the earth. So it's great. I hope he's okay. I don't know what happened to him, but like there were stories that he was like deeply involved in alcohol and stuff like that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, hopefully he's okay. But yeah, no one can find him, which is pretty wild. They just disappeared into the desert. Titans at Dolphins. So Jeffrey Simmons and Chidobe Awuzie were DNP. They've only had one practice so far because it's the Monday night game, or first of 2 Monday night games. So wouldn't read too much into that. I find like the first day of practice report is just pretty unimportant. Just because like veterans tend to rest. So I would I would wait till Friday, Saturday to get a better read on that. However, I something to take away from this practice report is that Terran Armstead and Kendall Fuller were both DNPs with concussions. Now that's different. They're in concussion protocol, so feels like they may miss this game, which is like another blow to the Dolphins. Sounds like Tyler Huntley's going to start. Not sure if it makes a difference because Mike McDaniel is just such a bad coach. I love the Titans again. We've already lost 15 minutes plus the VIG on them, but at some point they have to cover, right? They can't go 0-17 against the spread, right? Seattle and then Detroit. What Andy said. Andy really likes the Lions here, and so I think I'm going to change my pick to the Lions. or I already did on the site. I'm still like kind of like waffling back and forth on this one. So I don't plan on betting this game. Laporta and Frank Ragnow were both DMP on Thursday, so just keep that in mind. Again, like Thursday or the first day practice report, just not that important. But if Ragnow and Laporta keep missing practice, it's a reason not to bet in Detroit. But I do think they're the right side though, because like everyone, as we talked about on Tuesday, everyone remembers how Seattle has won in Detroit, like in shootouts, and so they may expect that to happen again. But last year, Amon St. Brown was out. Detroit was pretty banged up, and the year before that, Detroit was really banged up. They were missing so many players. So I think that the Lions are a team to maybe buy low. I think the event spread was even higher than this. Event spread was so okay, so it's -4. So not that much value. I feel like the Lions should be favored by more. I don't really know what to make of Seattle yet. Like they're 3-0, but they've beaten 3 bad teams. So you can't fault them for that, but you also can't like upgrade them to like, yeah, this is a great 3-0 team. You just don't know. They could be good. I don't know. I'm not like trash talking them. I just don't have a good feel for them. And they don't have a good track record at this point. Sue 222 super chat. Thank you so much. So Walter Football working too hard to get shut out. Thanks. Oh, and Dave Wolf 71. Yeah. Dave texted me today. He's like, I'm up to 70 followers. So now 71. He needs 29 more to talk on Twitter. He promised that if he gets to 100, he's going to say stuff on Twitter. And he has some spicy stuff to say. If you guys remember the episodes he's been on, and that actually reminds me, we're going to have an election night show. Now it's on a Tuesday, so it's like going to conflict with our picks a little bit. So maybe like during the downtime, I'll talk picks as well. But I do want to have I want to have Kenny on, I want to have Dave on, I want to have Omnifero on. I don't know who else, but the election night, obviously going to be a huge night. No one's going to focus on anything else. So I think that'd be a fun live stream the election, maybe even like show betting odds for the election, and maybe we can get plus money on both candidates, which was possible last year. So yeah, we're gonna do that election night. It's gonna start a little bit late because I have to put the kids to bed, but we'll be on all night, or as long as people are watching and care. So it'll be fun. Let's see. Chris says, this is insane. There's no less than 3 completely different rumors about his death. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everything I read is we don't know where he is, or he may have died. It's crazy that in this day and age, no one can find him. And there's no concrete evidence of his death. So why are there so many death rumors? I heard heart attack. I heard liver disease, and there was another one. And who knows? He could be alive somewhere in a shack and just be completely disconnected from the world, not wanting to talk to anyone. Actually reminds me of my swim coach in high school, who is also the football coach. And I used to have he was a really nice guy. He told me once, he's like, yeah, when I retire, I just want to go out on a boat somewhere and just sail away. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And so we were having this reunion, and my sister, who also was on the swim team, she couldn't find him. And she's like, well, I can't find Coach Conway. And I'm like, I have a feeling he doesn't want to be found, just because based on what he told me, that he's probably in the middle of the ocean somewhere. I don't know if he's still alive even. I think he was in his 50s when I was in high school. So he's probably in his I don't know how old he was exactly, but if he was in his 50s, he's in his late 70s now. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, he said he wanted to sail away, and I think that's what he did. So it's kind of cool. John says, whoever put the Titans on MNF before the season should be waterboarded. Yeah, waterboarded. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the NFL makes some. Well, whoever made this Monday night schedule where both games go on at the same time basically should be waterboarded. I don't get it. Just start games at 7 and 9. It's stupid. Mike says, then there's Danny from the Partridge Family. Didn't he get arrested 50 times later for some perverted act? 50 years later. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of that. I never watched Partridge Family. I think that was before my time. But given how Hollywood people go, it's not a surprise. Let's see here. urine boarded. Another classic idea brought to you by the people watching football. Yeah, I remember that. Urine board people. Yeah. Um, what's this? I don't know what you're talking about. I think you mean Dave. He was on the show when we did the fantasy football drafts, and he has some spicy political takes. But he said that he's not going to tweet until he has 100 followers. He's Dave Wolf 88 on Twitter. Um, Nuggets on election. Yeah, I'll have to get Nuggets on. Nuggets and Butters. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they can come on. I think odds are even on election list. I checked. Okay, I did not check. I'm gonna look at Bookmaker right now because they seem to have like the best odds for the election. Like they always have something. Um, let's see, Politics USA, USA elections. Um, okay, presidential election 2024. I like this because they have Democratic Party, Republican Party, not Trump versus Kamala because yeah, as you know, Trump could be assassinated. So it was for many reasons it would suck. But one of the reasons, if you bet it and he gets shot, that's like I was talking about like buying call or like selling call options and selling. I don't really talk about selling covered cash secured puts, which is like the opposite. But I've talked about like selling covered calls and the stock DJT, Donald J. Trump stock, the True Social. Um, the premiums there are so high. Like you can make a lot of money selling covered calls and selling cash secured puts on DJT. The problem is if he's assassinated, the price goes to zero and you can lose all your money. So it's like usually these covered calls and cash secured puts are super safe in the stock market compared to everything else. Um, and you can make some really good income. Like on GameStop's my favorite stock to do this on because the premiums are super high and there's no risk because the company has $4.6 billion and no debt. But like DJT has upside, but it has major downside. So Republican Party is minus 104. I like how they have any other is 952 to 1. So Chase Oliver 952 to 1 to win the election. So yeah, we need plus money on both sides. So if Republicans not even like plus 101s in that good, like plus 110. If there's at any point if one is plus 110 or better, I would grab it, and then eventually you're going to get plus 110 the other way. So you can make 10% of your money, which is pretty sweet. Actually, no, they do. They also have they also have the election. So for each individual candidate, Kamala Harris is minus 116, Trump is minus 104, Nikki Haley is 967 to 1, Tim Walz is 730 to 1. Makes sense to have the vice president. JD Vance much lower than Walz, 294 to 1 because of the assassination possibilities. I laugh. It shouldn't be funny, but it is. And then Hillary Clinton is up here, 935 to 1. She's the sixth option. And she actually has better odds than Nikki Haley, which is funny because she didn't even like run at all. I actually guess they didn't really have Democratic primary. Can't think of a better place to spend election night. Yeah, it'll be fun. I think. Hopefully it's not a sad result. Himmy Eagle says Overton's matchup were a breeze. I wouldn't be in a hurry to bet that against defensive coach in Seattle and a good pass pressure from Detroit. Keep it under. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it could go the other way. Usually that tends to happen. John says you should get a bump in viewership from all the dead people on election night. I always make that joke that like my uncle who actually did die in 2006. Yeah, he was Republican, but now he votes for Biden and Kamala. I like posting that. Like, yeah, my uncle used to be a Republican, but now he's running for Kamala. He died in 2006. Yeah, that's dead people all tend to vote one way. I wonder why. Or maybe Danny's living off the grid and on a dude ranch. That would be cool if he started his own dude ranch. That'd be funny. Because says now if you should disappear, probably Goodell's order. Yeah, should check his basement. Would you like us to unite to find you? Yes, I promise I will not disappear, especially because I have two kids. Like there's no, I would never abandon my kids. I think that would be awful. So yes, I promise that if I disappear, it's not because I wanted to live off the grid. Like not at all. Mike says we might all have to get boats and sail away after this election. I think you're onto something there. And when Walker's missing, it'll definitely be Goodell. Yeah, he already banned me from the combine. What else is he gonna do, right? Um, I'm still convinced that he's buried bodies in his basement. It just look very shady down there. Sue says, "Should I take the holistic approach to the election?" Um, yeah, Kamala recommends it. It must be right, right? Um, what's Vince Foster's odds? He is. I don't know. It was Vince Foster. He's not on the board. Any odds in 269 tie? Not on Bookmaker, but I'm sure you could find it somewhere. I did not see it. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, okay. I just looked up Vince Foster. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying here. All right. Okay. Mike says any money on Biden, he could make a comeback. Biden is not listed. It's funny that Hillary's listed, not Biden. Like what if well, I guess they have Tim Walz. I don't know. Like Kamala's just such a bad candidate. Like at least like the older people were willing to vote for Biden because they're still brainwashed watching the news and they think he's a good guy. They think he's like a pro union guy. So like at least voted for him, but like none of the old people are voting for Kamala. Like it's a joke. Um, Vince Foster hasn't missed an election since his passing. Yeah, it's true. There's no way that guy was only 48. Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's yeah. Vince Foster, yeah, died at 48. Yeah, died in 93. A long time ago, huh? Yeah, committed suicide apparently. As if we believe that, right? Yeah, a lot of people associate with the Clintons. They had just happened to commit suicide. They just, you know what? Maybe just meeting Hillary and Bill, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe these horrible people exist. I'm going to end it all. Maybe that's it. Um, Clinton's had him killed. Yes, I think so. I will not say that. It's not like they're going to sue me. Whatever. They probably had him killed. Like let's be clear here. Anyway, um, Vince was Hillary's boy toy. Okay, so yeah, you guys are letting me teaching me about this because I was 11 when he died. I was not paying attention to the news. I was trying to see if Roseanne would go out with me. Actually, that was in seventh grade. Who I liked seventh grade? I liked this girl Sarah in seventh grade. She was on the swim team with me. Actually, I went out with her on. It was like a pseudo date. Like her family was there, but I did like it's weird. I asked her out and I thought she was gonna go out with me, but like her family was there too. So I was what is this? Like I guess I should have been more clear. But then so that was when I was in seventh grade. But like 3 years later, or 4 years later, I was like I used to talk to her on the phone a lot, and actually like I thought we were gonna go out. And like she even said that she's like, yeah, all my friends want to meet you, and I was like, I thought like she's gonna be my girlfriend. But like something that like really bothered me about that was like she was so like depressed all the time. Like we talked on the phone, and like I'd be like, "Hey, how's your day?" She's like, "Oh, it was so horrible today." And like, yeah, some people you can have bad days for sure, but like I don't think she ever had a good day. It's just all like something. It was always something like negative, and she was pretty and stuff, and so I was still interested in her, but like eventually just wore me down. I'm like, this is just like so depressing talking to her because like it's always like something bad, and it was like never like that terrible. She's like, oh, I got a B minus in my test. I feel so sad. It's like come on, man, who cares? A B minus is like good. No? Kenny might disagree, but I don't know. So yeah, that was my seventh grade crush. This girl Sarah at swim practice. Um, yeah, that was good times. Norm Macdonald would always joke about him back in SNL. Yeah, see, I watched SNL back then, but I was 11. I didn't quite get it. But yeah, now I see that. Like, I googled him, and then, like he lived across the street from the Clintons, and he died. He happened to have a suicide. Yeah, so like as if like a lot of people who meet the Clintons happen to have suicide or die in plane crashes. It's very very convenient. Um, that and OJ. Between that and OJ, he got fired. Okay. um, Dan would have kicked your butt if you tried to steal Roseanne. Yeah. Best quarterback for large field apps. Best QB for large field apps. Um, What does that mean? You have to explain. I don't. What does large field apps mean? Um, is that like DFS? I don't know. For DFS, I like Kyler Murray against the Redskins secondary, but I don't know what you mean. Um, it says, well, of course, she was depressed. She had those awful kids, especially Darlene, and worked in a diner. Let's we're talking about Sarah in here, not Roseanne. It's funny. Mike says you should look up some of your old girlfriends now, probably 500-pound witches. Yeah, I some of them. Yeah, I will say some girls that I liked are very heavy now. Like there's one girl I had a crush on, and I looked her up, and I saw she was super fat, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, my first thought was like why did she eat the younger version of herself? It was bad. My first official girlfriend though, this girl Vicky, she was super hot back then, and I was like, for some reason, she popped in my head like a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I wonder what Vicky looks like now. She's a couple years younger than me, and I looked her up, and she's still super hot somehow. She's like in the late 30s. She's like still a smoke show. So I was like, oh, good job, Vicky. She's living in Chicago or something. Apps. How did you get different this week in DFS? Okay, as I thought, yeah, DFS. So we have DFS picks on the site. I might as well go to it. I have a write up on all the DFS stuff for this week, like my favorite options. Go here. So NFL DraftKings DFS picks. I don't play a FanDuel. Just I don't like the pricing. I don't like the scoring system. Top quarterbacks this week. CJ Stroud 7,000, Kyler Murray 68, Joe Burrow 68, Jane Daniels 65, Anthony Richardson 63, Caleb Williams 56, Andy Dalton 53. Now keep in mind Andy Dalton, that's with Deontay Johnson. If Deontay Johnson's out, you don't want to play Andy Dalton. I think that I feel like no one's going to want to play Richardson. So if you're talking about getting different, people are so down on Richardson just because he's had two bad performances. But Jonathan Taylor has run in a bunch of touchdowns. Like it could easily be Richardson. Like he got tackled at the 1 yard line last week, and so if he scored, it would look a lot different. So I know he's playing against the Steelers, but he could still run pretty well. So I wouldn't be too scared of that. Now I feel like everyone's gonna want to play Kyler Murray. So like I think he's the best option for single entry. So I that's what I do. I play in the single entry, then I just throw that lineup into the large field with like one difference. But like single entry, I would play Murray. I think he's the best option this week. Burrow's good too. CJ Stroud might be another one that's like underplayed because CJ Stroud, I don't think he's even crossed 16 fantasy points in any game yet this year. And so people are going to look at that and look at this price and be like 7,000 for Stroud. I'm not paying that. And like I do a lot of best ball drafts. Like Stroud used to go like 5th round consistently, and now he's going like 8th round. So people are really down on him, but he still super talented receivers and tight end. He's playing against Jacksonville, a Jaguar team that can't stop the pass at all. Their secondary is awful. Their best cornerback's injured, and they, as I said earlier in the show, they could be without their top two linebackers. Especially Foye Oluokun, who's having a great year. He's DMP both days in practice. So I think Stroud, who, coming off a loss, I think he's going to be super focused. Now it's tough to stack this team because the players are so expensive. You can't even add Tank Dell into the mix because he's out this week probably. But stacking Stroud with Collins and Diggs at least becomes easier because you don't have to worry about Dell. You could always go to Schultz too, and Schultz will be helped by Dell being out. Although I think Diggs is the biggest foil for Schultz, honestly. So with Collins, you have the over the top stuff. With Diggs, you have the underneath stuff. I think that stack, while expensive, I think that could be a big winner this week because like I said, I don't think a lot of people are going to have Stroud because they're just going to play. They're going to play Murray and they're going to play Burrow and they're going to play Daniels, and Stroud's more expensive. And so I don't think people are going to be on him. So if you want to be different, that's the way to go. You can be cheaper elsewhere too. Like you're going to have to be cheaper elsewhere. Chuba Hubbard 5,700, Najee Harris, with Jalen Warren being out, 5,600 is pretty good. You have a bunch of cheap receivers who are good. Andre Yushevis, 4,100. Michael Wilson is getting a lot of looks now. only 4,200. Demario Douglas hits 9 targets last week, 4,500 is fine. Roma Dunze, if he plays, like you can get a lot of production out of this 5,200. And Deontay Johnson, I think he's still way too cheap, 56, but that might be pretty chalky. And then a tight end, you have Tommy Tremble, 2,700. If you just really need the savings there. So I hope that answers your question. Fields or Richardson, I would go Richardson over Fields. I feel like he has more upside. Don't look up Miss Alabama 2024. Uh-oh, I think we have to do it. I think we have to do it. It's Miss Alabama 2024. Her? Let me see. Images? Oh my god. Why? Why would anyone vote for this? Like, are the judges all fat? Like, oh, fat lady's here, just like she's like us. I don't know. That's it says who was Miss Alabama winner Sarah Milliken, who was humiliated by haters for her weight? Look, I mean, if she has like a medical issue, like I'll feel bad, but like she's not Miss Alabama. Like this other woman right here, she's much more attractive, so I would have voted for her. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite appalling. Like where the judge is like drugged up or something. Mike says with Fields and Richardson, who needs running backs anymore. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and remember Daniels runs too, despite his great passing. Don't forget Malik Willis. Yes, he's playing like Michael Vick these days. No, that's a hog. Yeah, you did it. Yeah. Well, at least she wasn't born with a penis. That's a plus. Yeah, these days you just don't know. Sandra, are you effing kidding me with that Alabama thing? Yeah, I'd expect something like this from like California or Oregon or Illinois, but like, what happened in Alabama that they voted this way? Too many grits. Just a few too many. That's a few. Man, that's pretty rough. So no, the girl that I liked who got super fat, she's even fatter than this. So maybe who knows? Maybe she could move to Alabama and win Miss Alabama. Is that a grown up Honey Boo Boo? Yeah, Honey Boo Boo is old now, right? It's been a while. Grits with extra butter. Exactly. All right, guys. I think that's about it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Chris said, "What an incredible role model for young women everywhere." Yeah, I mean, look, you can eat all you want, get super fat, risk heart attack, but you can win in Miss Alabama if you move to the South, if you're willing to live down there. So that's definitely some aspiration there. Yeah, so thanks, guys. Yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would be appreciated. Thank you so much to Slew for the 222 super chat. Really appreciate it. So thank you so much once again. I'm going to be working on props tonight. Going to post that on sometime on Friday, late Friday / early Saturday. Just want to get ahead and just look at all the props, get some good numbers. So yeah, just a lot of work to do heading out. And I hope you guys have a great start to your weekend. And I will be back on Saturday with Tom to look at the week 4 final thoughts on video for the picks. And I'm kind of excited to hear what Tom has to say about these games, because I haven't really talked to him yet, so I don't know who he likes. But we'll see if he's still on the Titans with me four times in a row, 4 times the charm. But yeah, once again, guys, have a great night, and I'll talk to you on Saturday.